Well, it's time, once again, to recap Power Fantasy, covering the first part of 2024 from January 8th to March 11th. The beginning of the YouTube era started on January 8th. By the way, all of these dates will be listed as air dates, not recording dates. This is our debut on YouTube, and the main event, as you can see in the center of the screen, ended when Triumphant, who had been on the Rock since last December, bickered instead of making the save on the Hierophant, giving a sufficient victory to the Dead Ringer ahead of the Hierophant's title challenge against Akane Ruby Angel, giving Akane's goons the last laugh heading into the show. Would it be the last laugh coming out of the main event? Well, as we gear up for Year 4 of Power Fantasy, we would learn, no, it would not. Here at the Year 4 Spectacular, we had a lot of important results. Due to the results of the Texas Deathmatch, we wouldn't see Bonami until the end of this period of Power Fantasy, and we still haven't seen Tsunamania since then. Of note also, Match 5, Tom Ryder coming out with the surprisingly returning Frodo McCain. Last seen when Bonami slammed him back first on the top turnbuckle last April. On number 6, it says All or Nothing alongside the championship defense of Rugby Alcohol and the Jackalope Kid. And what that means is that not only did they lose the bout, they got kicked off our ranking pyramid and sent to the drawing board fashion-wise, as they lost the ability to wear their familiar blue and orange color scheme. And then in our main event, Akane Ruby Angel's title reign came to an end on day number 365 after 5 defenses. The Hierophant era would begin auspiciously as Ellen Ellis and Beat Me Sicko came to blows in the main event of our January 22nd show. We didn't know it then, but this would be the end of the Triumphant as we knew it. Also of note is the Dirty Sprites making their first main roster win against the Ruby's Angels, fresh off of that boom that Dead Ringer got submitting the new ABT Grand Champion. Wouldn't last long. January 28th, we have the tournament forming up, which happened after Drangsal Ruhe vacated his PF2 championship. A new rule established in the new year that allows the PF2 champion, after 4 defenses, to cash in the title for a shot at the ABT Grand Championship. We cover this in better detail in the championship video elsewhere on this channel. We also had the team contendership go in a surprising fashion as the FBI's Most Wanted got the victory over Pinrush with a figure 4 submission on Big Brains Elmquist. Brains Elmquist. He lost the big privileges after an accident a couple years ago. Regardless, he went for the dive, the same thing that got him revoked of being able to use the name Big Brains, and apparently rolled his ankle during it. Getaway Sticks focused in on that ankle and forces a surprising submission with a figure 4 leg lock to get them next in line to take on Rugby Alcohol and the Jackalope Kid. In matches 1 and 5, which you see outlined on the bottom of the photos there, Drangsal Rua and the Hierophant picked opponents for each other going into their face-off in 2 weeks' time from this point, where Hierophant chose the Dead Ringer, the man who just beat her. Drangsal made the Hierophant fight her now former friend Beat Me Sicko. Also, you see there in match 3 the securing of the second spot in the Bad Time 3. The first was guaranteed to the Triumphant for winning, though that would change by the end of the month. And this was also the tag team debut of You Know the Vibe, the team of Lisa Frank and Beat Me Sicko, who have had, not Beat Me Sicko, excuse me, that's a typo. Lisa Frank and RL Shoujo Dime, pictured there, who would have rough sailing for the duration of this period. February 12th, our recap here is just all focused on our Match of the Year contender, the first one this year from the challenge between the FBI's Most Wanted and Rugby Alcohol and the Jackalope Kid. Early on, Rugby proved to be too much for the Fun Boys one-on-one, but thanks to Simran McCain getting them back on the same page, they used quick tags to force their way back into the match, but couldn't put Jackalope away, and Rugby landing more and more devastating moves on Marcos every time he tried to make the save, left Getaway Sticks vulnerable for the crossface, submitting him in 45 minutes and 20 seconds. Check this match out. It's good stuff. February 19th, Rugby Alcohol became the first double champion in the history of Power Fantasy by beating Mons Soleiman in the finals of the tournament to claim the vacant PF2 championship. But meanwhile, in that main event, the Hierophant and Drangsal Rua went to a 43-minute blood-soaked hell war that ended when the Hierophant dropped Drang Solrua on the top of his head, as you can see there, with the shrine. Also, match 3, the Bad Time 3 qualifier between Cocksure and Mars of Ruby Angels. That's a 2-on-1 match for a 3-person tournament. I was arranged through to... Well, we go into it during that episode, but basically they called the cops on Dead Ringer, who was revealed as Neon Ferdinand, a member of Global Psychosis Wrestling. That'll be important in a little bit. As we go to the Bad Time 3, we now see our teams, and Neon Ferdinand would immediately join the Global Psychosis Wrestling team. The Ultramarines United originally stepped in for the Triumphant, but that wouldn't last, and we would come to see that later. February 26th, the most noteworthy thing is in our main event. Well, not in our main event, in our first match, excuse me. Beat Me Sicko ended up showing up with a stolen belt. The Hierophant's ABT Grand Championship secured to her waist, lifted from her while the Hierophant was in the hospital. Go on to beat Ellen Ellis while wearing that belt and saying she wasn't giving it back until someone beat her for it. We also met Team JPW, which was top to bottom there. Dr. Psycho Lovers, Neon Ferdinand, the Unmasked Dead Ringer, and Arby Manhole. And Noah Gripe and Phoebe Keto have been bickering since last December when Keto berated then instructor John Bobson. Bobson also the former tag team championship alongside Noah. They were hoping to get everything out of their system going into the Bad Time 3 until it turned out that Tanky Bruce, the newest member of the Pinrest group, ended up getting injured by Mon Soleiman on an episode of PFU and had to fall out of the tournament. That started the next week on March 4th when a team that we had claimed were the Ultramarines, but were later corrected on that fact, came in and wrestled in place of them, beating the Na'vi powers 3-0 with the element of surprise and violence. They were allowed to start because the commission assumed they were part of the movie and were just new characters. That's what transparency will get you. Also worth noting in match 2, the tradition of those tournaments is that the new champion defends against the one person they did not beat to win their title. Rugby beat Ellen Ellis in the first round and beat Mon Soleiman for the championship. Mon beat Jackalope Kid, Rugby's partner, to move to the finals. And so they ended up having a match that ended in catastrophic fashion when a German suplex caused Jackalope Kid to clip the turnbuckles on the way down and knocked him out. We're still waiting for more word on what's happened between them since then, but it could spell the early end of their tag team reign. And that brings us to... Excuse me, real quick. So, the interlopers here from top to bottom... well, never mind top to bottom. This actually comes to us courtesy of Ulta Lady of the Ultramarines, who figured this out. The interlopers identified themselves as elements 8, 13, and 26. And those elements on the periodic table are oxygen, aluminum, and iron. And one of the things that you can do with those three things is the creation of thermite, which uses aluminum powder and a metal oxide such as iron oxide. This is incredibly important on account of, in last July, we lost an episode due to a thermite charge being dropped on our broadcast satellite, among many other things. We'll have to cover that in greater detail at some point soon, I'm sure. But it appears they're claiming to be the saboteurs, and because of the rules of the Bad Time 3, they can't really be removed from the tournament anymore. Or, well, that's where we left things on our last episode, March 11th, where they made a presence known there by defacing the ring before the show even started. Also on this show, we had the Hierophant getting revenge on Beat Me Sicko and taking her title back, beating her in 33 minutes with Faded. As well, we had the main event, the second match of the Bad Time 3 between Pinrest and Global Psychosis Wrestling. A great match that's definitely worth checking out. The decision that was left in the hands of the Ultramarines was to either file an injunction or let the tournament continue and get some sort of recompense from the Athletic Commission. And we have the official word on that. The Ultramarines have stepped back from the Bad Time 3 tournament, and the tournament will continue. The compensation will be announced at a later date, but that means taking their place is the Team of the Elements, registering themselves as the Thermite Party. They're taking the spot of the number 1 team, and that spot usually confers an advantage by having the matches every 3 weeks apart. So they'll wrestle on the 3rd, the 24th, the 14th, and the 5th. It's an advantage that hopefully can be overcome because, frankly, I don't know what happens if they win. Coming up next on the next few months of Power Fantasy, from March to May, the rest of the Bad Time 3 tournament, with more at stake than ever before. We've also got on May 12th the Class of 2024, our annual one-night tag tournament between our undergraduate wrestlers. Drawing stakes, well, it's not a random draw thing. The set teams are set teams, and well, the people that don't have set teams have to go find partners. And at the end of the night, we'll see who the best tournament is. This is where a lot of the stars that make it to the main roster come from. Last year's winners, of course, being Luxury and the Masked Ass Kicker. No, did they win last year? I think okay. Regardless, that's also where Phoebe Keto came from, is what I'm saying. So that tournament can crown a new star. So be sure to check that out. And on May 19th, SPF 16, the Bad Time 3 Finals 2024, and every ABT championship will be defended on that night. We will see you there and over the next part of the year for even more great matches on Power Fantasy. I'm going to wait for the song to drop. Never mind.